I've been away for a few days, but it's not because I've forgotten about you. It's because I've had a lot of things to do in the last several days, and I really had to address them. And I'm going to cover a lot of stuff pretty quickly here. Just bear with me. Towards the end, I want to get to something that I think is really interesting. I want to kind of take a look at this really iconic photograph that's always managed to intrigue me. Like every time I look at it, I just think, man, why is this photo so amazing to me? And I want to sort of explore that. So for now, let's just take care of a couple of housekeeping items, and then we'll get into that really interesting photograph. Now, one of the things I've been up to in the last several days is, now I don't know if you're aware of this, a lot of you guys are, but I have a group on Facebook. It's a photography group. It's called the About Photography group, which I guess makes a lot of sense because that's what it's about. It's about photography. So here's what happened. I've taken over as admin of the group. Now, I originally started the group back maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Somewhere along the line, it really grew and grew. It was getting a lot harder to manage so many members in the group and so many people trying to come in and spam the group and stuff, so I needed some help. So I asked a couple of friends of mine who were members of the group, pretty well-known photographers in those circles. I asked them to take it over for me. So they did a good job for a long time. But after a while, I started noticing that the group had really changed from what my original intention was as far as discussion and as far as like what kind of stuff was going to be posted up for members to see. Things started changing a little bit, kind of going in a direction that I didn't want to see it going. So I asked them if they would consider stepping down and letting me come back in as a sole administrator so that I could sort of bring back the group to where I wanted it to be in the first place. And so I'm in the process of doing that. One of the things I really didn't like about how the group was going, and I mentioned this in a previous video, I don't like it when you've got a Facebook group, which is essentially a discussion group or a learning group, and you've got people just flooding it with their own photos, basically just wanting likes and pats on the back and just, attention for for each and every photo they take. It seems like sometimes. And I really didn't, that wasn't the intention of the group. That was one of the things I really wanted to stay away from. So I'm basically shutting that down, coming back to a more discussion-oriented format. Now, I can tell you not everybody is liking those changes, especially the people who just want to see picture after picture in that feed. But a lot of people are pretty happy with the changes. Either way, that's the way I'm going, and whatever happens, happens. That's my vision for the group. And by the way, if you want to join the group, all you have to do is go to, I'll go ahead and include a link for you in the description below. You can click on that link, see what the group is about. Let me know if you want to join it, and I'm only letting a few people in at a time, so don't feel bad if you don't get accepted right away, but if it seems like it's something that might be up your alley, go ahead and let me know, see if you can get in the group and join in on the fun. Now, another thing that I've been really busy with in the last, I'd say for a good 6 weeks or so, is just finishing up on this still life ebook that is coming out at the end of the month. So be on the lookout for that. I'll tell you more about that later. Now, thirdly, this is pretty exciting. I don't know if I've even addressed this here on the channel at this point. I mean, you can see for yourself. 30,000 subscribers. We finally got to 30,000. It's kind of a big deal to me. It may not be a big deal to other people. It's not really that big of a number when you're looking at the big YouTubers who have like millions of subscribers. But to me, it's a big deal. 30,000 of you like the channel, subscribe to the channel. You took the time to press that little button. It means so much to me, and I'm being completely honest and sincere about this. It means so much to me that you even ever bothered to subscribe and that you watch these videos that I make for you. So thank you for that. Just very excited about it. My daughter said she was going to bake me a cake with a big 30K on it to celebrate. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to that too. I'm thinking red velvet, maybe? All right, so the housekeeping portion of this video is over. Now we're going to get to this interesting picture. And this is a photo. Let me just bring this up here. This is a photo of Evelyn Nesbit. Now, I think she was a model, actress. She was in show business of some sort. I'm not really sure. I don't know a lot about this, the person in the photo, but I do know that ever since the first time I laid eyes on this image, it just intrigued me. It just grabbed it just etched itself into my my brain, and I've always been kind of curious as to why that was the case. So I decided, hey, we'd take a look at it and we'd kind of talk about it. Now, the person who took this image was a pretty well-known photographer by the name of Gertrude Käsebier. I think her maiden name was Stanton, but she married some guy somewhere on the East Coast named Käsebier, and so she took his name. Gertrude Käsebier. I think there's another picture here that she took that's pretty famous. Okay, this one here. I'm sure you've seen this picture before. It's another iconic image, and we'll go back to this one of Evelyn Nesbit. All right, now, so why has this image stood the test of time? Why is it so intriguing? Well, if you think about it, it's timeless. And as time goes on, lots of these older pictures, lots of these iconic pictures actually take on different meanings and maybe even more significance, because as time goes on, our culture changes, the way that we look at things, just our world, the way that our world looks changes over time. And so with more distance between now and then, things can become a little more mysterious, or we can have that feeling of nostalgia about it when we look at these images. And the images become more meaningful to us, at least in the way that we imagine how things were back then as opposed to how they are now. I mean, it is kind of mysterious. What were the people like back then? What was this woman's life like? So we look at these portraits and we imagine what the world was like back then, and we maybe project a few of our own feelings onto all of that, and it becomes intriguing. So why does this picture succeed? Now, I can point out a couple of things, like, let's say, this curve right here, and how it goes against this curve, and how it's sort of, the curve of her jawline repeats here and then upside down here. And, so you've got the curves, you've got the lines, you've got the contrast between the lights and the darks right here and here. And over here on I guess this is a fainting couch. Of course, there's also the pose, which to me looks just a little awkward. I don't think it's particularly an impressive pose, but it seems to work. She's almost leaning over as if to tell you something. So there's that aspect to it. And then there's this strange little prop that she's holding here. Now, I've read that a lot of people have perceived this whole thing, including that prop. There's some suggestion about how this relates to virtue and things like that, but I don't really get that. I never really saw it that way. But what I did see was this gaze, okay? The look in her eyes and the way she's kind of moving forward just a little bit. I think that might be the most important part of this image and why it succeeds. Look, we're all human, and we respond to depictions of other people in ways that we probably can't quite explain. And maybe there's really no reason to try to explain it, or to try to quantify it, or to try to find ways to turn it into a formula so that we can replicate it. Now, I can tell you, with all of my experience as a portrait photographer, and we're talking about going back like 30 years or so, I know that when I've got someone sitting in front of me, and there's always, even if it's a pose and it's fairly static, there's always a little bit of change as the conversation is happening. There's a change in expression. There's a change in what the eyes are doing, what the brows are doing, what the mouth is doing. I press that shutter button when something tells me to. I can't explain, and I really don't want to analyze it. I don't want to overanalyze it too much. I can't explain why it happens, but I know when to click that shutter. And whatever that thing is that tells me to do that, that's what the viewer sees. And that thing, that mysterious reason why that one moment was the moment to capture, whatever that mysterious human reason is, that's going to resonate with the viewer. They're going to feel it when they see it. That's the magic, when something resonates, when something connects. And that's why I think this image of Evelyn Nesbit succeeds. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. Again, hitting 30,000 subscribers may not be a big deal to some people, but it's a huge deal to me, and I want to thank you for that again. Keep watching these videos. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up by clicking that like button. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Go ahead and click the subscribe button and the little bell that says, hey, let me know whenever Ed puts out another video. Go ahead and click that too. Leave me a comment. I love to read your comments. Leave me a comment, and I will more than likely respond to that. I've got a lot of things on my list to do, but I'm going to respond to your comments for sure. All right, that's about it for today. See you next time.